What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel as you tune in and you check out the content, right? And so, with that being said, man, I want to speak on Steph Curry, man. And a lot of people are talking about Steph Curry as far as and the Golden State Warriors because of the potential of LeBron James might just go there, right? And I gotta say I like the way that Steph Curry really handles the media. He don't really say a lot, right? Even from the situation with Kevin Durant when Kevin Durant was going to Golden State, when Kevin Durant got at once he got there to Golden State, throughout that whole process, Steph Curry really didn't give the media a lot. He didn't say a lot. He didn't give him a lot. Even when Kevin Durant left, he didn't say a lot. He didn't do a lot. And that's the way, in my opinion, that's the way you're supposed to handle the media and you're supposed to handle the public, right? People are going to read into certain things you say. So it's best to just like say less. And that's what Steph Curry did, right? He just says less with everything. And so the fact that he recently put out a post about how much of an honor it would be to play with LeBron James or have LeBron James come to Golden State, right? Something to that effect. That's it was a generic statement, but I'm listening to Shannon Sharp's show, Nightcap, and they read so much into this just general statement that Steph Curry made that, like I said, you just got to give Steph Curry like a pat on his back, man, because this is the way you want. You got to handle the media. Just they're going to read into it either way, depending on what they want to get out of it, right? And so, and you can't expect Steph Curry to really say anything like anything negative. I haven't, I think that if the Golden State Warriors thought that LeBron James was the missing piece that could get them there and to get them to a championship and help them win, money wouldn't be an issue. Like LeBron James is asking for $50 million. They would find it. If they had to cut everybody except for Steph, Draymond, and the coach, everybody would be gone, right? So they would make that happen. But LeBron James, like in my opinion, like it's just like he's just not worth $50 million. So now, with that being said, let me play what Shannon Sharp said, him and Ocho Cinco and Joe Johnson. Now, I gotta say, Chad Ochocinco had he seemed to be the most level-headed and the most realistic guy when it comes to talking about LeBron James. Like these other guys, Shannon and Joe, just and Shannon and what's it? Chad also said one time, not on this podcast, but he said, "Man, Joe Johnson, I gotta question your basketball knowledge. Some of the statements that you making, right?" And so, let me play though.
Hey guys, it's your favorite dunk here.
Stephen Curry says he's been texting LeBron as the rest of the NBA world awaits his free agency decision. We've obviously talked. He deserves all the patience and space to figure out what he wants to do with his career as it winds down. We all understand and appreciate that. I would love to play with him, and hopefully that would be a reality soon.
All right, so that was the gist of the statement. He said we want to give him time to make his decision. I would love to play with him, and hopefully that'll be a reality soon. It didn't sound like some type of endorsements. It didn't sound like, oh man, we're going to do everything we can to get him in here. We need him, right? He kind of, if it happens, he left the door open. So if it happens, it happens. If it don't, But watch how much they read into this little short, I don't know, text or tweet.
So but hold on. Hey, what happened to this notion that we hear some of these? Nobody wants LeBron. Did you see the clip where they tried to prank? They tried to prank Giannis, and somebody he had signed with somebody else.
Oh yeah.
And Giannis said he did. Let me see. But nobody. Let them tell you nobody wants LeBron.
But you have to understand, that nobody wants to play with LeBron. That's coming from the outside.
No. I ain't saying nobody wants to play with him. They're making it seem like nobody wants him. Like Golden State really doesn't want him. Miami really doesn't want him. Cleveland really doesn't want him. Philly really doesn't want him. No, they can't.
You know better than that.
They can't pay him his true value. Nobody has $50 million.
If LeBron James could if you Philly, if you Cleveland, if you are any of those teams that you challenging for a championship, and LeBron James is the missing piece that can bring you a championship, but he costs $50 million, they will make it happen. They will, any of those teams, Cleveland, because you stand them like the local economy and the team just stand to make so much more than $50 million just off of one season for LeBron James. If he was worth it, the Lakers would have paid him. So that's where I disagree with Shannon Sharp. But nobody can afford to. That's a nice way of saying that you're not worth $50 million. Cleveland already said all they have is $3 million. Right. And so we wish we could, that's a nice way of saying that you're not worth it. We wish we had the money to pay him. But if he want this 3, he can come. We'll even take his son. But, we'll take his son and him. But all we have is 3.
To pay to a 42-year-old. And they're not going to pay that. But this notion, what we were hearing, Joe and Ocho, nobody wanted him. Oh, there's no market out there for him. Are we serious?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's a bunch of bull. That's a bunch of bull jive. Anybody with common sense, anybody with any basketball knowledge, even if you're not really a fan of the game, you know that LeBron has value based on what he was doing in LA, even though he was the third option. And then when Luka and also Reeves went down, seeing what LeBron did and being able to carry a team at 41 years old and still be able to operate, efficiently at a level offensively, obviously somewhat of a liability defensively because he can't sit in the chair like he used to. He's extremely valuable, but obviously going to a team where he doesn't have to do much except facilitate. And when I want to pick and choose the moments where I want to score, he can do that.
If he could do that, he would have done it at LA. They let him go. They chose to sign Austin Reeves for $40 million. That's that's 10 million. If LeBron James is all that, y'all can't scrape up another 10 million out. So, people just have to think for themselves.
Again, I love Steph. I love Steph's comments and wanting to play with LeBron. LeBron is very fond of Steph and always wanted to play with him. But if they're going to do that, listen, they can do it in the off season. They can golf. They can play in the Summit. In New York, and listen, they can golf together. They can play at the Summit in the off season and train together. But as far as competing, listen, hey Joe, as far as competing at the highest level to contend for a title, this ain't the time. This ain't the time for like a goddamn reunion.
Why? What do you mean? Why not?
Listen, if LeBron is going to play and have some fun, he can have fun in the offseason. If he's going to play, going at 42 years old, the expectations are through the roof. He needs to be on a team where he can conduct himself in the right manner, where it's not that much pressure on him, and all the pressure going to be on the others around him.
It won't be a bunch of pressure on him in Golden State. Listen,
he's playing in the West, Joe.
I know, but you got to relax, slow down, Turbo. You got to hear me out. Think about it. 2 of the greats, obviously on their last leg, their games complement one another. Their games complement one another. Okay. Steph he gonna open up the floor for Bron just as much as Bron gonna open up the floor for Steph to get wide open shots. Personally, I wouldn't mind seeing them in Golden State, Ocho, because of the fit. Because both of them, it's not like, obviously, if you go to Miami, that'll be good, Ocho, but it's not like that. It's not like Giannis and Bron, because both of them kind of need the ball. You know what I mean? Steph don't really need the ball to be effective. Bron can facilitate. They play great team defense. Hell, they ain't got nobody really sliding them puppets like that outside of Draymond who going to really sit down in that chair and guard. But I think collectively that unit that they're trying to build in Golden State, Ocho, I think that it'll be must-see TV, bro.
So if it was must-see TV, then, because this is not the first time they were talking about, people thinking about, well, LeBron should go play with Steph, right? I don't think that Steph Curry was ever really interested in that. But because Steph Curry had 4 championship rings without LeBron James. He got 2 without Kevin Durant. And Steph Curry there was never any question that's like, oh, Steph Curry gonna go team up with LeBron. How come if all those guys are better than Steph Curry, how come that they going to Steph Curry. How come, like nobody's saying, well, Steph Curry need to go play with the Houston Rockets because Kevin Durant is over there. Or when he was in OKC, Steph Curry should have went to OKC because Kevin Durant was over there. Kevin Durant wanted to be a part of what Steph Curry had going on. Just like LeBron James wants to be a part of what Steph Curry got going on, so Steph Curry, like I said, I like the way he handled this situation. He's very media savvy. He understands that less is more as far as like putting out public statements, and so you really can't say anything bad about him. And you can read into his statements anything you want to. It was a generic, basic statement. So you can read into that anything you want to read into it. But also go by his actions, right? When Kevin Durant went to Golden State, he didn't really, he accepted Kevin Durant, but he also understood that was his town. It was his, that was his team. And no matter what Kevin Durant did there, like he could not overshadow Steph Curry. And same thing with LeBron. LeBron go to Golden State. He's not going to be able to overshadow Steph Curry. He's not going to be able to affect Steph Curry's image in any way, right? And so Steph Curry don't have to make a public statement. There's nothing like he's already won. Steph Curry has already won, so there's nothing to fight for. It don't do him, you know what I mean? So I like the way Steph Curry is handling this situation. And if I'm Steph Curry, I wouldn't say anything, make a basic generic statement. If LeBron was that dude, Steph Curry would be like, oh man, I'm gonna go play with him. But it's the other way around. People want to play with Steph Curry and they want to go to Golden State and do it. So yeah, this well, I don't know if it's gonna happen, but if it do happen, I think it'll be must-see TV because it's a bunch of old guys on the same team just trying to giving it one last shot. But I don't think, it don't really matter to me where it go at. I just think I like the way Steph Curry basically has handled the media throughout his career. And that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment. And I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.